Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. You know, Mississippi is a troubled state, but we gotta do better. You know, we have a population of less than 3 million people, and 40% of those people are African Americans. At one time, there were more African Americans in Mississippi than there were whites. So we gotta do better. We gotta celebrate our diversity, and we gotta move this state from being last to somewhere in the middle. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to have effective leadership that has as an objective to move Mississippi forward. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share this program with your friends and family. If you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to subscribe to the program. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own platform, we want you to share this program with your friends and families. We want you to hit the donate button and send us some money. We need revenue to keep this program going. Now, We Believe Digital is a lot different than other platforms. You see, because on Sunday morning at WeBelieveDigital.com, we can bring you 5 different preachers at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's right. At the same time, all 5 could be live on WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, our program is separated and categorized in different categories like politics, inspiration, and things of that nature. So you can go to the category that you're interested in and watch shows from the past and shows that are coming up in the future. Also, you'll see down there that We Believe Radio. We have launched the internet radio station, We Believe Radio, and we're broadcasting all over the world 24 hours a day. So we're looking forward to that. Now, the difference with us is that we will take the audio from our podcast studios and we'll have our live talk shows on radio. And when that's not airing, then you'll hear some of the best music that you can ever encounter. Now, our goal is to be able to not control the narrative, but not to let others control the narrative. That's how we've gotten in the condition that we're in, by allowing others to define us and to tell us what our history really is like. So we're going to deal with some serious issues tonight. And my co-host, Dr. Henderson, is not here tonight, but I look forward to having him back. We had a great show on WMPR last night where we went toe-to-toe with Kim Wade of WYAB. Many of you know Kim Wade, and I call him the voice of the white conservatives. And so that was an interesting show. We look forward to having him on this platform as well. Now, tonight I have a special treat for you. We have 2 guests in the studio, 2 young ladies that are making their own way, making a mark on this country and in this community. And some say it's the year of women. Some say it's the year of black women. A lot of people now understand that Europeans have had their chance and failed, and African-American males are in trouble in leadership roles. So many of us now believe that this is the year that we need to shift gears and look toward our sisters to see if, in fact, they can make a difference. That being said, I'd like to introduce our outstanding guest tonight. First, we will go to Rokia Lumumba. I want her to know that you're welcome here and that I wish you would introduce yourself to the viewers all over the world.
Okay. Hey, everybody, and thank you for having me, Mr. Garrett. We appreciate you and Black Media. So super excited to be here. To everybody out there, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Rukia Lumumba. I am the daughter of Chokwe, the late Chokwe Lumumba, and the late Nubia Lumumba. I am a child of Jackson, Mississippi, very proud child of Jackson, Mississippi, a place that I love and call home, a place that I am committed to helping to continue to develop so that we can see a better quality of life, not only in Jackson, but throughout the state of Mississippi. And I am a transformative justice strategist. I'm a legal professional. I am a community organizer, and I am dedicated to improving our quality of life. I have been working for over 15 years in the field of the criminal legal system, representing people behind prison walls, but also building programs that keep us safe, programs that are rooted in our communities and address our mental health needs, address the need for our youth to have positive youth development, address the gun violence that we're experiencing in so many cities and towns throughout Mississippi and throughout this nation. So I'm one that builds. I'm building the different world that we want, the better world that we want, and doing it with community members. I take this very seriously. I take this work very seriously. And that is why I have chosen to run for state representative for District 72, which is also in Mississippi, for all of you all who don't know. So I'm running for state representative. I'm running because it's time that we stop engaging in reactionary politics and processes. It's time that we fully understand and have access to the information, access to government, and have a weight in making those big and small decisions that we see policies that are implemented over and over and over again. So I'm running because it is time. It's time for us to be proactive instead of reactive. And so thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. My other guest is no less than the Danielle Holmes, a young lady that I've watched for a couple of years as she progressed. And the work that she has done has been impeccable, and she's taken some positions and some stands that others dare not take, such as her involvement with bringing down the flag in Mississippi, one of the last states to remove the Confederate flag, and she did great work there. Also, I've seen her with national figures working here in the state of Mississippi, whether it's in the Poor People's Campaign or Rapid Response, and she's a young lady that the world is going to get to know. So Danielle, it's good to have you on the program, and tell our viewers a little bit about you, where you're from, your background, etc.
Well, you just gave my introduction.
Right.
So thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Garrett. My name is Danielle Holmes. I'm a resident, born and raised in Greenwood, Mississippi. I've been in Jackson for the last 32 years now. And I'm a national social justice organizer with Repairs of the Breach, doing work with the Poor People's Campaign. Also, I am the director of the Mississippi Rapid Response. Director with the Mississippi Prison Reform Coalition. Rukia and I co-founded the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition together, and it wasn't intentional, but now it's a thing, and we've been entered into the U.S. congressional record for our work across the state, but mainly majority of our work has been here in the city of Jackson during the water crisis. I've done a lot of organizing, community organizing. I'm over 15 southern states across this country, taking on the same fight that we're having here in Mississippi. This fight is going on across the South in different, maybe different perspectives on, different legislations, but it's happening. It's a real serious fight that's going on across the South. And it's going to take someone who's bold and serious enough to be able to go and take a stand and fight back. And so this is who I am. Love working with my sister here, Rukia. We are day and night. And I'm the oldest, but she's the Mama Rukia. So, but happy to be here. I love Jackson. Went away, I was so tired. I just got off the plane. I dreaded having to leave, because I love my city. And Rakia says I'm always ready to get back because I think I'm going to miss out on something.
Okay, well, let's get right into it.
Yes.
There are a lot of issues in our community, and both of you are dealing with these issues. So we're going to just jump right into it. Now, you offered yourself up, Rukia, to be a candidate for District 72 in the Mississippi House of Representatives. Why do you think you could make a difference there when many feel that you are doing great work as an advocate on the outside? Why do you choose to go inside to try and make a difference?
Well, one, because it's necessary. We saw a very aggressive legislative session this past year, right, or this year. And we're only going to see it get a little worse as we enter into a presidential election in 2024 and we enter into more municipal elections here in the city. We're going to see more aggressive policy being passed, and we have to have folks in office who are able to bring community into the process with them. And so that means that instead of learning about bills and legislation that's going to be put to the floor the month or a month before they're about to be put to the floor and voted on, we need to be a part of the process earlier on. We need to be knowing what is being talked about, what are some thoughts that are coming through people's minds, so that we're not fighting in a way with a short period of time to react and organize and try to prevent something. But instead, we're actually there in the beginning, knowing what's going on, educating our community about what legislation might be presented. And so I believe I need to be there, and I believe that the best use of my time there, the best use of my representation there, is to actually bring community members into the fold, to actually help to provide and increase their access to that information about what's going on. And then also to be an advocate. You know, state representatives are advocates. We'd have no power unless it is a collective power. And so it's really important to understand that role. And so advocates need a base. Mm-hmm. I have a base. My base are residents of the city, residents who have lived here, who have benefited from here, but have suffered from here as well. Residents who have solutions, and if we would just listen and treat them like partners in the process of policy development, instead of just recipients, I think that we'll see a different day within our government, a different day within our legislator, and a different day for our communities as it relates to what we need.
Now, yeah, you support her then in this move inside government as opposed to standing outside fighting with you, alongside you on many of the issues?
Yes, absolutely. Rakia has done a great job in training up and grooming those to come behind her. And so while she's done significant excellent work in the community, we need someone like we need a Rakia Lumumba inside the State House, right, to shake some things up, to really show others, because a lot of times elected officials that are being elected into these positions go without knowledge. Many of them are running for power, right, or clout, but they lack the knowledge that is going to take, especially here in Mississippi, to really, you said the South is going to rise again. Mississippi is going to rise again, because right now we are at the bottom. In order for Mississippi to rise again, the knowledge that Rakia carries, the work that she has done, that is to be imitated and showing other legislators, you don't have to sell your people short.
That's right.
To make it in order to get what you're trying to get. I can show you the way. This young lady, I've seen her, she stays on phones from 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know who time zone she's on, but she's on Zoom calls early in the morning and texting as well, until sundown. She's doing this work. She's traveling over this country. The connections that she's had has brought resources into this community. Not just into this community, because resources have gone out across the state. As recent as Rolling Fork, Mississippi, the devastation that has happened with the tornadoes. Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition couldn't exist without those resources coming in, and they came in by way of Rakia Lumumba. right? When we talk about the Jackson water crisis and how we were able to, and we're still able to, get water to residents, right? Making sure residents had access to clean drinking water, water filters, water testing kits. Those connections came by way of the majority of Rekia Lumumba. Many people don't know the work that she's doing around with her organization, People's Advocacy Institute. This young lady, it blew my mind. She had a community love fund. I said, huh? Community love fund. That's for any individuals who need assistance, financial assistance, whatever that financial assistance may be. That's what that community love fund has been set aside for. So before the pandemic, I saw her helping people, giving financial assistance to folks to stop evictions, paying light bills, helping families bury their loved ones when they couldn't, feeding families. During the ice storm, we provided heaters, kerosene heaters to families, hot meals to hotels. Hurricane Ida, folks came here from Louisiana and wherever they were impacted from, and a lot of them had the city of Jackson hotels filled. We went around to each hotel feeding hot meals. I may have been out there in the front doing the work, but those financial resources came by way of Rekia Lumumba, right?
Well, let me ask you a question about that, because let's spend a little time talking about your ability to reach outside of Mississippi and bring revenue into Mississippi. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about your father, Rekia. I certainly am aware of his great legacy and the things that he was trying to accomplish, but what was it like for you in a household like that, and how did it mold you?
Yeah. Well, one, thank you, Danielle.
Yes.
Thank you for telling. It's not just about getting resources, it's also about building infrastructure. So in order to be able to have folks like Danielle on the ground meeting directly with community members and passing that out, we have to have structure that allows that to happen. It's when you're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls, you got to have a dispatch center. Somebody got to serve as dispatch. You got to be thinking and constantly thinking. And that's how we've been able to build collectively, like literally build what we're doing is that collective process. But growing up in my household, I truly say I was blessed. My parents, both my mother and my father, Shokwe and Nubia, really allowed us to have both a childhood and to be politicized, to understand our rights, our responsibility in our community. So growing up in that household, my father was a daddy like many daddies. He had times when he was serious and he had times when he was silly. And my mother always said that basketball was his mistress, and so growing up, we would have deep conversations about maybe homework, right? Maybe you're doing a report on Christopher Columbus and he's going to sit down and tell you his truth about Christopher Columbus, right? And then give you the option to determine what you believe is true, right? Reading several different books. It was a household where we would also have tickle fights, right? We would also make sure that we were going out as a family to eat, My mother was very adamant about ensuring that we had a balanced childhood, ensuring that we knew what it was to be loved, what it was to work hard, but what it was to just exist in family. And so that household, I truly was blessed. My parents passed earlier in life than many, but I just am so grateful for the time they gave us. And most importantly, they taught us principles. They taught us very clear principles of how we should be in this world, what our character is, how we should always walk with integrity, how we should always work hard and ensure that we're working not just for ourselves, but for our community. There's a principle that they often told us, and there's several principles. We used to have to recite our principles like consistently at big events, or special occasions, right? And one principle that they constantly remind us of is that we have to love the community as the family, and the family as the community, and that every day we have to grow to make that concept live.
Well, let me ask you this, and Danielle, I want you to chime in, because you guys are going up against a formidable machine in terms of the Gibbs machine. Justice Gibbs is also running for this seat, along with Ms. Stingley that's running for this seat. And it is going to require a lot of hard work to be able to be successful. And then you have the issue that you happen to be the sister of the mayor of Jackson.
Yes, I am.
And the mayor of Jackson now is probably on NBC or MSNBC more than any other person. And Jackson is going through tremendous controversies with water problems and with garbage debacles and things of that nature. So how do you navigate those things? And I guess that's a two-part question. One, are you going to be able to have enough resources to compete with the Gibbs machine and the Stingley machine? And the second part is, how do you navigate the fact that you're the sister of a very enlightened and controversial mayor?
Let me just say this, the most important resource that you ever have in a campaign are the people.
Okay.
And so it is your greatest capacity. And I am proud of the people I have standing with me. People who are committed to this mission of me running. I didn't get into this race out of desire to be a political figurehead. I didn't get in this race out of a desire to push my career forward. I didn't get it as a stepping stone. I'm getting in it because I was asked. I've been asked literally every year for the past 6 years to run. And every time I have said, no, I have work to do that I'm doing right now in this community. But this time it made sense. It made sense because, one, we built the infrastructure. The People's Advocacy Institute is doing amazing work across this state. From the only bail fund, which is the Mississippi Bail Fund Collective in the state of Mississippi, that is working to end wealth-based detention in our state and actually provide people with an opportunity to properly defend their case, to actually have supportive legal support in addition to social support so that they can return to court and be accountable for any acts that they may have taken. You know, to the Prison Reform Coalition, to the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, to our Jackson People's Assembly, which has launched and helped to build the Strong Arms of Mississippi program, which operates in both Rankin County and Hinds County, working as an alternative to detention for young people, as a positive youth development program for young people who are facing court charges. Already they have seen a significant decrease in recidivism for young people that have gone through that program. You know, to the only cure violence program in the state of Mississippi, Operation Good Cure Violence, which is working right now in the 45-block radius of Oak Forest in South Jackson to really help prevent gun violence. And last year they had over 213 days of gun violent free days. And this year they're already reaching over 100. They're reaching towards that 100. So we've been doing the work. We built the infrastructure and we want to see it grow. But in order to see it really grow, in order to see real change, we need policy change. And so when the people spoke and they made it clear to me that it's time for you to take a step for us, we know that this is a sacrifice for you, but it is a step for us. You need to enter into that place.
Hold your point right there. We are up against a station break, and so we're going to go to this commercial. As always, we appreciate Earth Blend Coffee for its sponsorship. And so we're going to go to this commercial, and we'll be right back.
Looking for other content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Well, welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here from Jackson, Mississippi, in an African-American owned and operated broadcast studio. Yes, in Jackson, Mississippi. So many of our leaders have come from Mississippi. Despite tremendous odds, We have excelled and we've overcome, and we're doing great things all over this world. I remember that when I was in Los Angeles, California, Mayor Tom Bradley from Mississippi, so many great leaders that we have produced. And right now, 4 of the largest cities in America are being run by African Americans. And here in Jackson, our city, while it's not the largest, but it's also being run by an African American. So we are glad that you are joining us this evening. We're being seen in over 139 countries all across this country. We're being seen on Facebook, on YouTube, on Roku TV, and on WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, if you want to call in and join this conversation tonight, you may do so at 800-492-5186. But let's get right back to our guest. Danielle.
Yes, sir.
I was asking her about how she was going to deal with the machine, and she basically said that her machine was already intact and that her advocacy speaks for itself and she has infrastructure in place, and that's good. I also asked her about the being the sister of the mayor of Jackson, and with Jackson being in the news all the time, how do you navigate all of that? How do you see her handling that, Danielle?
Rakia does a very good job of being able to navigate through all those different challenges. And I will say she's had to navigate through those different challenges long before this year and last year, right? I remember when her brother first ran for election, and you had an individual who wanted to attack her, right? And at that time, social media was a thing for me to really show out. Wherever you showed out, I showed out with you, right? And so to attack a woman was a no for me, but to attack my friend was a double no. Someone that I like and look up to, and I know the work she's doing. I know her heart. I know her brother's heart, right? They have their own different identities, but they're still one, right? And the love is one. And so when I see Rakia doing this work in the community, I see her brother doing this work as well. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that people don't know and understand. Many people don't really understand and know the work that Rakia does, right? All they can say, they throw out these lies, blatant lies, that the city is giving her money and this is how she's staying afloat. This is how she's funding her organization, and the mayor is channeling money through her organ. All these wild lies and foolishness. That's just point blank what it is. But when you know the truth, when you stand on the truth, and when God is with you, you can navigate through those challenges. I've seen folks who have talked about her deceased parents. And that's very bold, and yeah, that's a different level for me. I have to take it there with you now. Let me just be relaxed. Can I be relaxed?
Sure.
Yeah. So I've seen the disrespect, and I've seen the lies. Even this past week with the garbage issue, right? You've had councilmen that had deceived their fan base on what really was going on with this garbage dispute. And at the end of the day, the lies were revealed, the truth was told, and the mayor, people began to see who's really playing the games at the city hall. And so when Rakia goes up against these different machines, one thing that I would say that, and I don't know the other folks that's running. I don't know them, so I can't speak to their work. But I know what this young lady has done in this community. And she's been on the ground doing the work. She may be the executive director and co-founder of People's Advocacy Institute. But how many executive directors do you see actually getting out in the field, getting their hands dirty, delivering water, riding on the backs of trucks, long before the idea had been conceived that she was going to run for an office? She was doing the work in her community. She was fighting to stop the violence, bringing in programs. Every day is something new. We need to, this transformative justice strategist that she's in. She's pushing that, and I didn't always agree or understand what she was doing, so I would push back. I would argue with her. You know, I'm very confrontational. So we would go back and forth until I finally got it. And I'm like, wow, my sister's really on to something.
Okay.
So
let me hear your version of how you're going to deal with being a member of the Lumumba family, which has many admirers and has a few haters. How politics is a contact sport. So they, as Danielle said, they say ugly things, and they sometimes get out of place in terms of when you deal with family and children and parents. Things get out of whack. And so how do you plan on handling that, Rukia?
The same way I've been handling it all my life. You know, and thank you, Danielle, for that. You know, my father has always been a revolutionary. And the Lumumba name always was a name that wasn't necessarily trusted in every space that we went in. And when I say trusted, meaning that it wasn't one that people felt comfortable around necessarily. Because often it meant that we were coming in and we were going to push a little harder for rights that we thought our people deserved. And when I say our people, I mean black people, but I mean all people. Because we believe and have always believed that when you help folks who are most oppressed, then you help everyone. Because the policies shift for everyone, right? And so I've always been a Lumumba. Growing up, you know, before we moved to Jackson in 1989, you know, we were living in New York. My father was representing Dr. Mutulu Shakur, Tupac Shakur's stepfather. He was representing him on what we would call today terrorist charges. Back then they were called RICO charges or things of that nature, right? And but they were terrorist charges. He was being charged as a terrorist, right, for being a part of the Black Liberation Front. Him and a white woman who I love dearly, Marilyn Buck. As a child, I would watch them in the courtroom. Two people who I knew to be the best humans that I had ever known at that time. As a young child, 2nd grade, my mother would bring my class to the court hearing so that I could see and we can listen to what was happening and learn. I remember seeing the judge's face, red, just bulging red face, getting upset every time my father, Chokwe Lumumba, and his co-counsel, Sophia Elijah, who's actually an amazing criminal justice attorney right now and leader, doing work to represent their clients. And I remember times of being on trains headed home with my father. And because it was such a big case, it was on the news all the time, right? And I would see people spit at him. White people spit at him, right? So I've always been a Lumumba. I've always had to navigate not knowing when I walk into the room whether I'm going to be liked or whether I'm going to be disliked. That hasn't changed. You know, when we moved to Mississippi, you know, we weren't immediately embraced. It took a very long time for folks to really get comfortable with the idea of actually creating self-determined communities. Communities that actually could take care of themselves. Actually bringing community members into the fold of governance where they were making decisions, where they had an opportunity to just understand what was going on. And so it took time. And it really wasn't until my mother passed that people really began to see us as more human and began to embrace and understand that we love this place. And so, you know, I've always been a Lumumba. My brother, Chokwe Antar Lumumba, I don't move away from that. I wouldn't have moved away from that. I don't move away from that because, one, I believe that he is the best mayor for us. I absolutely believe that. If I did not believe that, I wouldn't have served as his campaign manager for both his first election and now his second. I believe it because I believe that for Jackson, he is absolutely what we need at this time. I also, I'll just say this. People often forget that there are people around the person in the forefront. That there are people doing just as equal work. Oftentimes, I'm known as the mayor's sister, right? But I'm Rukia Lumumba. And I've been doing this work way before he decided that he wanted to become a mayor. Way before that he decided that he wanted to engage in community in this way. I was doing this work in high school, right? I started organizing and educating. I've always had a deep passion, a deep commitment to seeing people's lives improved. In high school, I started a free summer camp for children. Me got my friends together, went to different stores, got donations. Didn't want to take city or state money then either. At the time, though, I just didn't believe in it. Like, I was like, I ain't taking y'all money. We gonna have community money fund our summer camp. We had 50 young people. Went door to door knocking on homes, right there on Martin Luther King Drive, close to the corner of Maple Street, across from Mary C. Jones. 4 years in a row, we held that summer camp. 50 children each time. We would pick them up. We had a crew that would pick them up. We had field trips, we had all these things, and it changed lives. And these are young people. We were high schoolers. Then I went away to Tougaloo, right, to Tougaloo College. Went to Tougaloo, served, and became Miss Tougaloo College, and I refused to take my crown until they actually embraced and established a policy that we developed for a Mr. Tougaloo. Because we needed to have gender equity on campus. Young men at that time represented, there was about 11 young women to every one young man. And Miss Tougaloo and other SGA figures, SGA elected officials on a campus, they get different benefits. You get housing for free, you get food for free, and you get other special benefits. And I said, how are you gonna have a Miss Tougaloo and not have a Mr.? So do our brothers no longer matter? And so I refused to take my crown until they established that policy, and they did.
Wow.
So.
You were watching Socrates Garrett Live. This is a very important show. I'm thoroughly enjoying this discussion. Now, we've been singing in 139 countries all over this world. There many of you know that you need to come home, come back to Mississippi and try and make a difference. We have a tremendous brain drain, and those African Americans out there that got their start in Mississippi, moved away, it's time to come back and try to improve the quality of life for black folk in the state of Mississippi. 40% of the state is African American. 33% of that population is living below the poverty lines. We got some serious work to do. And there are some issues out here that have to be addressed that were created by failed leadership. So what you're seeing and hearing tonight is a young lady who believes that she can make a difference, that she's always tried to make a difference, and that she just didn't start yesterday in the work that she's doing. So when you're trying to choose a candidate, then you have to go back and look at their record. Where have they been involved? What have you seen from them? Where have they been engaged? What have you heard them say about issues that are matter to our community? And if they have not been involved, then more than likely they will not get involved, because you don't have some change of heart in the middle of the war. You become more compromised, more so than becoming more independent. And that's what happens to many of our leaders. So this is an important election that we're having, and the young ladies out here are fighting hard. Now, Danielle, you've done some great work. I saw the flag come down. I saw the rallies, and I went to the rally, and what shook me and shocked me, that a large percentage of the people in attendance to your marches were white. And I was wondering, how did you guys pull together such a coalition that we had the podium there on Capitol Street in front of the governor's mansion? And I was just amazed at the representation that you got that enabled this flag to come down. How did you do that?
Well, one thing that we do know, we have accomplices, allies, who really take a stand for what is right and really fight this white supremacy, this racism, this patriarchy that's going on, misogynist, all of this that's happening here in this city blatantly, in this state blatantly before us. Now, the work of the flag I came in at the tail end of this work, but it started long before me, so we have to pay homage to those who actually were at the forefront starting this. But what I will say is that when I became involved, and I knew that just being passive here in Mississippi wasn't enough for anything to come down. And so there was one action. We actually burned a Confederate flag in front of the governor's mansion. And we didn't do it we did it as an action, but didn't think that it would go viral. And in probably 30 minutes to an hour, my sister that lives in California, she called me. She was blowing my phone up, and I couldn't answer because we were just leaving in action. She said, "What is going on? Are you in jail?" I said, "For what?" She said, "Your name is in the San Francisco Chronicles for burning a flag." And I said, "What?" She said, "Yes." And so I began to Google, and lo and behold, Danielle, and actually I was not the one to burn that flag. But I did lead the action, so I'll take credit for that. And one of the AP reporters, we were at the, actually, our action started at the state capitol, and we were having a rally, and he said, and he came close to me, he said, "Are you really going to the governor's mansion to do this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You may want to think twice about it." I said, "What's wrong? Why?" He said, "You're putting yourself in a real dangerous position." I said, "We're going, let's go." Mm-hmm. We marched from the state capitol to the governor's mansion.
Well, let me ask you this, Danielle. You have a passion, and you have the drive and the commitment to try and make a change. Where did you get that from? I mean, well, how did you pick up this cross, and what enables you to do the work that you're doing?
I think my advocacy work started, and this wasn't on purpose. I never desired to do this work. You know, my dream was living on a house on a hill and a boat on a lake, for real. You know, so, but the purpose in me starting to fight was when my child was in middle school. And it all started with JPS. And the things that I would see there, and mothers who didn't know how to speak up for themselves. I've always been vocal, right? I always talk too much, as my mama say. I always had to have the last word because I always thought I was right. Even when it came to my mom's marriage and her relationships, you know, I thought I knew all the answers in the world. I had all the answers, but long and short. And after that, my dear friend who's gone on, no longer here, rest in peace, Precious Martin. I used to do a lot of campaign work behind the scenes with Precious, and would sit around the table with others as well, you know, community leaders. That's how I know their game. And so that's how I can call them on the foolishness that's going on here right now in Mississippi, and who has allowed it to go on, who's responsible for emboldening these white folks to do what they're doing, or these extremists. Let me correct my language. Many of them are in the pockets of these extremists. And so looking and just seeing how things played out, but then I also began to see how those same individuals tried to oppress me. And out of that oppression, I rose up, the Danielle in me, because I've always been loud. You would hear me, my mom, the teachers would always tell my mother, I hear from the wing A all the way over here on wing B or C. You can hear her coming, her laugh is loud, you know. So, but just, and I knew then, you know, it was a change. A change was really needed. And after being a part of different organizations around, sitting at the tables, many of them, I used to tell them they ran their organizations like cults. That's not what I wanted to be a part of. And it took me using my boldness that I had in the streets, and now I'm turning that, because now I have a child, right? I'm grown now, so I put away my childish ways. And it's time to be more serious about life, because whatever is happening, going to happen, my child, my grandchildren, they have to come behind me. And all of that is going to affect them. And so I started thinking different. But then also individuals who just push me out front. I was always, there was for the longest I was doing work and folks didn't even know I was doing it because I was always behind the scene and never wanted to go to the mic. And I finally started going to the mic when folks weren't saying what I wanted them to say or moving how I wanted them to move, so I did it myself. Because this time I knew that my life depended on, my life depended on me fighting.
That's right.
For what was right here in Jackson and in the state of Mississippi, but most importantly for my child, because it was kind of bad.
Yeah. We're going to take a break here. We're up against a commercial break, but you're watching Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. So let's stay tuned and come back right after this commercial.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at MississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the capital of Mississippi. You know, Mississippi could be a wonderful place to raise a family and work. You see, we have less than 3 million people in the entire state. The last time I was in Chicago, they had more people. They had twice as many people as we have in the entire state. You can drive for days and days in Mississippi and not see anyone. Wonderful climate, great places to fish and hunt. It should be a commercial center. You know, we're blessed with a city where the Pearl River runs right down through the city. In Oklahoma City, they got to pump water into Oklahoma City to try to have a river walk. In Jackson, Mississippi, the Pearl River comes right down through our city. Interstate 20 and Interstate 55 intersect right here in Jackson, Mississippi. We should be a commerce hub. We're 200 miles from everywhere. We're 200 miles from Memphis, Tennessee, 200 miles from Mobile, 200 miles from Shreveport, 200 miles from Birmingham. You see, we ought to be a regional state for commerce, for goods and services, but we're not. We're last in most everything. We're divided as a state, and that division keeps us last. We're in a state where the governor refuses to accept even Medicaid expansion. We're in a state where we have health care issues, where infant mortality rates are higher than any other place in the world, where we have hospitals closing. And we have issues, and there are no reasons for those issues other than the divide in our people. You see, Mississippi does not celebrate its diversity, which should be its strength. We are the birthplace of even Elvis Presley. Sam Cooke. You just name all of the great artists that came out of Mississippi. We should be celebrating that. The blues started in the Mississippi Delta. People should be flocking here to look at, there's some tragic things in our Civil Rights Museum that you'll see. And we have some things we have to deal with, like the Cheney and Goodman and Sherman murders up in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Yeah, that's part of our history too. But we have a great legacy and we have a great state to work from if we could just get our leadership to see things the right way. But unfortunately, that is not happening. Many of you out there all over the world know that the state of Mississippi recently tried to take over the water plant and take a lot of the assets from the city of Jackson. It's just a racial divide. It's all that you have. And so now this legislature has passed bills that many think are tantamount to an invasion of your city, your capital city, an invasion where they're taking over the assets. One of those bills that's been all over the national media is House Bill 1020. Now, our guests have a lot of history with this bill because I've heard them speak at podiums about it, but we want them to share with the viewers out there all over the world exactly what impact this is going to have in the state of Mississippi. Danielle, I believe that your T-shirt has something to say about House Bill 1020. Can you tell our viewers a little bit of how it originated and what does it really do?
So, the T-shirt or the bill?
Both.
This T-shirt, take this SH*T, the trial, HB 1020. We knew that this bill would pass, and we knew that we had a fight. And on January the 31st, we had a press conference at the state capitol. And Rob McDuff, lawyer with Mississippi Center for Justice, warned the state that if this bill passed, that we would see them in court. And so, in my mind, because I ain't been an activist all my life, I had a little street in me, right? So I remember some rap songs. And one of them in my mind, because I have to go gospel, rap, when I'm dealing with this turmoil that we're in here in this state, you have to find some balance to find some calmness in all that's going on. And so when Rob said that, Attorney McDuff said that, this song immediately resonated in my spirit. And so I pitched it out to our Jackson Undivided Coalition, some of our direct action members, and it was a goal. Yes, get the T-shirt made. So one of our orgs that's a part of the, one of our leaders that's a part of the coalition paid for these shirts, wanted them, sponsored them, and so here we are because we are headed to court on this piece of legislation. And I'll let Rakia explain how this all originated, but it's been an act, been in the works, according to Senator Bryce Wiggins and Trey Lamar, House Representative Trey Lamar, for some years now, right? We are just finding out about it. And it was sad that once we found out about it, we had to go and chase legislators down, and especially the Hinds County legislators, to question this bill, this piece of legislation that no one was talking about. So you were just going to let this slide in and not tell the people that you represent that their lives are literally in danger? That was really like, I'm traumatized by this piece of legislation. And if anybody knows, Rakiz, she's seen me cry. I went into a state of depression behind this piece of legislation because this is a direct indictment against our black people here in the city of Jackson.
Rakia, I heard you speak on the issues surrounding this bill, but I want you to share with our viewers out there exactly what does 1020 do?
Yeah. Essentially, 1020, and thanks for bringing this up. It's really important. The fight is not over. So 1020 essentially creates an authority within an already authority of the city of Jackson. So initially we would call it a city inside of the city of Jackson, a smaller city initially when it was first presented. It was presented as a small city. The Capital Complex Improvement District was a city inside of Jackson made up of predominantly white residents in Jackson of the northeast portion of Jackson. This area was also where most of our economic revenue was coming from outside of our universities. So it included the medical district. Mississippi, or Jackson rather, has the only Trauma One hospital in the state of Mississippi. It was located in this district. And two other hospitals would also be located in this district. Our hospital base is one of our greatest economic revenue producers. It helps to pay job employers, right? It employs a number of people here in the city of Jackson and in the metro area. So creating this place was, one, an attack on our local municipal leadership and our county leadership. The bill threatened to not only divert power and sales revenue away from the city of Jackson and into this small area, which is predominantly white controlled, and allow that money and those directions of how that money is spent to be determined in that district not by local elected officials, but instead by appointed officials. And so what we saw was the creation of a judicial system, what they're calling a special court, that would actually have jurisdiction to hear various types of offenses, including traffic violations and other low-level misdemeanors. Also had the ability initially to hear claims as large as $200 million, right? What we see now is a bill that is nowhere near much better. We see a bill that literally creates these special courts that have an appointment of judges by the Chief Justice of Mississippi, the same person who was a part of the ruling of Dobbs versus Jackson, the same person that ruling helped to reverse Roe v. Wade. So this person, a white man, would be responsible for appointing judges that through our Mississippi Constitution indicates that they must be elected, will appoint judges to serve and hear cases and criminal offenses, even misdemeanors, primarily misdemeanors, of people who are brought to the CCID courts. It will also expand what we know of as the Capitol Police. Now, some people are saying, like, well, we need more safety in the city. We need more police. I will say one thing is true. We deserve to live free of fear, and we deserve to live free of need. We deserve public safety that makes sense. We deserve public safety that actually cares about the people that it is supposed to protect. There are ways that we get to that, and we deserve the right to determine what our public safety looks like. And not having someone from Senatopia, Mississippi, nearly 3 hours away, telling us what we need in Jackson. And they haven't even done the data. So Capitol Police, which was initially formed as a police force that was responsible of securing state buildings, checking to make sure the lights were turned off, make sure the doors were locked, making sure there's no vandalism, somehow now gets expanded to actually serve as a police force that has the authority and primary authority in the CCID area, which has now been expanded to not only Northeast Jackson, but now West Jackson, going further out south to Raymond Road in South Jackson, meaning that it's now expanding to some of the more poorer areas in Jackson that are predominantly black and predominantly poor, areas that have intentionally been divested from by the state for years, if not decades. And so now they're coming back to try to grab that land. With the expansion of Capitol Police, what we see is not only can Capitol Police arrest people in the CCID area, but now Capitol Police have the authority to arrest Jacksonians and anyone who comes into the city of Jackson throughout all of Jackson. So now they have secondary authority in Jackson to arrest over misdemeanors, low-level offenses, traffic violations. Why is this important? This is important because in the city of Jackson and in the county of Hinds, there is a consent decree that says that you cannot arrest a person and jail them in Jackson for a low-level misdemeanor offense because we saw too many people going to jail and not getting out because of traffic violations, because of low-level misdemeanors, families separated for crimes that did not actually harm anyone. And so now, by the expanding the Capitol Police, these Capitol Police are able to choose where they would like to arrest and then jail an individual. They have the ability to sign agreements with neighboring counties to jail folks in Madison, Mississippi, which is a suburb of Jackson, to jail folks in Pearl, Mississippi, which is another suburb of Jackson, predominantly white suburb of Jackson that are known to be hostile when it comes to criminal legal matters to black defendants and brown defendants, because we don't forget our immigrant population. Expansion of the Capitol Police decreases the city of Jackson from continuing to put forward to implement its policy around making Jackson a safe place for immigrants, for folks to be here. We saw the largest raids in U.S. history in 2019 in Mississippi, in areas about an hour away from us in 7 different towns where they arrested and detained, separated over 700 families of immigrant families while they were at work, arrested them, while their children were on their first day of school. And so in Jackson has always been a more safe place for immigrants to come because our policing systems do not profile on that based on your immigration status. And so what we see is an expansion of Capitol Police is a dangerous thing. It is a police force that is controlled by the state. It is a police force that is controlled by the Public Safety Commissioner, Sean Tyndall, a white man, who even on one show indicated, and he says, oh, you can't take a joke, on one show indicated that he may have to bring in bear sniffing, I'm saying it wrong, but bring in bears to sniff out people who have drugs and other alcohols because we're so dangerous in the city of Jackson, right? And so what we're seeing is that a police force being implemented and being given authority over people who didn't ask for it. We didn't ask for Capitol Police. We didn't ask for Capitol Police. We asked for funding to help us deal with our public safety issues, and we've been asking for that funding for years, and the state has consistently denied that funding. The one thing I'll say before you jump in, because it's so important, when you invest in these programs that we know of as misdemeanor offenses, where you arrest people and jail them, what they call broken windows. They used to call broken windows policing, where you arrest folks based on this idea of stop and frisk. What you're doing is you're criminalizing people, and when you criminalize people, you turn them into criminals. And so we cannot invest in that. We've seen the harm it did in New York City, which had one of the largest lawsuits against the police department than anywhere else in the nation for their use of broken windows in this stop and frisk policing. They had to end it because it was completely violating people's rights. And so we don't want to repeat bad behavior. The other thing is Capitol Police has shot 8 people since they've been in existence, killing one, Jalen Lewis, and we're going to continue to say his name. He was unarmed and shot. And so we pray for his family, but we don't want a police force that doesn't really care about the people. We don't want them here, and they don't need to be anywhere.
So you take strong stance.
Oh, very strong.
You take very strong stance. And in an environment now where we have typical legislators that are more mild-mannered and seem to be open for compromise, and then you have some that are advocates like Danielle and yourself that are outspoken, and many of those are retiring. I noticed that Ed and Barbara Blackman are retiring, and Ed was one of your speakers at your rally. So who will be the voice in the legislative branch now, both the House and the Senate, after we lose people that have traditionally advocated for us? Who do you see fulfilling that role?
I feel like I'm one of them.
So we got to get you in there. We got to get you in there, and maybe we won't have such a large void. Now, what do you say when the critics say, and we got to go to your campaign in just a minute, very quickly, what do you say for folk who say you want to defund the police department?
My emphasis is not about defunding the police department. My emphasis is on investing in communities. Investing in communities. And let me say why. Because when we invest in communities that have been divested from for so long, when we invest in mental health programs that are community-based, that are in our communities, that are addressing the mental health needs of so many people that police officers themselves have told us, you want us to be mental health providers, you want us to be the parents, you want us to be the gun violence de-escalators, you want us to be the teachers, you want us to be all of these things. Police can't be all of those things. But in community we can, and we can have those things.
That's right.
And so we have to stop focusing on archaic processes. We have to really begin to think about what does it take to actually make communities safe. It means that our people need to have mental health stability. It means that our people need to have job stability. We need to be investing in job development programs and actual jobs, right? We were able to employ 31 people during the water crises through donations. And I want to be clear, I don't get any money from the state or the city. I refuse to take money from the state or the city. One, because my principle says that if my brother is mayor, I don't need any money from him. Why would I take money from him? I don't want to give any impression that I am getting some privilege or some benefit. I work extremely hard as executive director of the People's Advocacy Institute to fundraise money for community members to actually be able to see the solutions they develop come to fruition. I work extremely hard. I travel around the nation and around the world, making relationships and building partnerships with foundations and different donors that are willing to invest in a place like Mississippi, a place where many people don't believe in us. And so, yeah, I got a little bit off track.
No, that was good. Now, the deal is this. We're running out of time, and I want to spend a little time, and we're going to have to get you guys back. How and what do you need the community to do to help you with your campaign?
Yes, I need y'all to show up. We know door knocking is the most important piece of a campaign.
Volunteers.
We need volunteers, you know, getting to meet folks one-on-one, right? Helping me to have conversations so they can know who I am. Outside of who just my family is, who am I? Who am I? I'm Rukia. And I feel like I'm pretty dynamic. But I'm dynamic for you. I really believe I'm like, my whole being has been about people.
And so where's your campaign headquarters? How do people contact you? And where do they send donations and contributions to?
Thank you. So you can go to www.rukialumumba.com. Again, that's RUKIALUMUMBA, and you can .com. You can sign up there to be a volunteer, to stay in the know around what the campaign is doing, learn about my platform, all the good things, and share it. You can also go there to donate. Go to RukiaLumumba.com and donate. Campaigns cost money. Signs cost money.
That's right.
Push cards cost money. Phone banking services cost money. All them things cost money, and so we need your support, and I appreciate your support deeply.
Well, that's it for this evening's show. I'm going to let Danielle have the last part in words, and then I'll be right back to close us out.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, Doc, for having us here. It's been a tremendous blessing. We are in this fight not for a grandstanding moment or clout, but we know and we engage. The people that we're fighting for are those that are not only those on the out in the community, but especially those that are walking along and working alongside of us who are formerly incarcerated. Many are formerly incarcerated. Poor folks. You mentioned that There are less than 3 million people in the state of Mississippi. Did you know that 1.3 million people in Mississippi are poor and low wealth?
Yeah.
That's 43.5, over 43.5% of the population. And we must begin to ask why. Why? It's intentional. It's by design. And so we have folks, and I even see comments on some of the commenters. They have been anti-black, and they're black, right? People need to really get on the real side, because what you're saying and what you're doing, and I agree, people want safety. We want stability. We want clean water. Water should be free, clean, and accessible. All of that, I get that. And we can work through those challenges, but we have to begin to work through those together and not attacking each other and attacking those who are trying to promote change. So get on the right side of this fight. We're not fighting for a grandstand moment. We're fighting for change, because I have sisters and brothers out there that I don't want slaughtered.
That's right.
Right in the streets by Capitol Police. We've had members also, let me say this, who've at the state capitol, that's a part of the coalition, who we've employed, harassed by Capitol, the governor's detail, saying that they thought they were at the state capitol to steal catalytic converters, and they had them stretched out on the cars. We've gotten calls of elderly being pulled out of their cars by Capitol Police. This is an indictment against black residents, black Jacksonians. Those that are still talking, don't be surprised, or don't come calling us when it's your family member
That's right.
that's being slaughtered or abused and mistreated by Capitol Police.
Can I just say one more thing?
Surely,
I'm sorry.
surely.
You know, you asked a question earlier about how were we able to get a diverse crowd at our rallies, right? Of white and black folks. The reality is that white people also can see racism. That white people can also see injustice. They know when things are going wrong, and they want to do right. And so you saw that because white people were willing to stand up and to stand with us, just like they did in the civil rights movement, to call out and to say, I stand with you. This is wrong. And so just because we talk about black people don't mean we don't care about all people. In the same way that those white people came and stood by us, we come and we stand by them when the time is necessary. And that's all I got to say.
Good conversation we've had here this evening. Just to summarize a few things and close this out. You know, Mississippi has more people incarcerated than any third world country. 90% of the inmates in our prison population happen to be African American.
Yes.
There's something wrong with that picture. And so we're talking to a young lady who has a vision and a dream that she can make a difference and to create policies. These things that you see that have gone wrong were created by bad policy. So it's going to take good policy and policy makers to make the corrections that are necessary to move us forward. Now, those of you that are out there that are watching all over this world, it's time for you to invest in Mississippi's new leadership. She gave you her campaign numbers that you can reach out to make donations and contributions. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're watching the mayor on MSNBC, it's time for you to say that I want to make a difference in Mississippi. All of those that sent water down here during our crisis,
Yes.
we appreciate that. Now we need your help. We need to go a little bit deeper, a little bit further. We need to create a movement, and this could be the beginning of it right here with two dynamic ladies that you've heard from this evening. Now that's it for Socrates Garrett Live. We want you to stay safe and good night.